This is the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
Good evening. Welcome inside the RebZone. Kevin Bollinger alongside Running Rebels head coach Marvin Menzies coming to you from the floor of the Spectrum in Logan, Utah after the Running Rebels dropped contest here to Utah State. And Coach, I know you talk about it's wins and lessons, not wins and losses.
Right.
What kind of lessons have you pulled out of the last couple of weeks?
Well, you know, we're obviously struggling defensively. As we did here today, it was just a very it's hard to get our guys to be consistent. You know, and you get two or three guys doing the right thing and another two or three not doing the right thing. So that's a process, obviously. And you know, I thought we'd be a little bit further along at this point, halfway through the season, halfway through the conference. But I do see growth in, you know, different guys that I'm optimistic about. So, you know, my big picture is still very bright down the road, but we got to make that down the road a little bit closer.
Before we get to more on the big picture, let's go to the highlights from Saturday afternoon's loss to Utah State.
The Running Rebels had their hands full with Utah State right from the beginning. Sam Merrill drives baseline for the lay-in. Then the feed inside to Nemius Cato for the dunk. The Rebs tried to stay in it early. Chris Clyburn with the three, and Mbake Jong the inside bucket. Utah State went on a 9-0 run from there. Highlighted by this give and go with Sam Merrill for the bucket and the bump. Once again, the Rebs answered. Noah Rabatha with the steal. That triggers transition, and Clyburn hits another triple. Then the senior knocks down yet another three to pull UNLV within three at 21-18. They never got that close again. Keita gets the offensive rebound, and he goes back up strong for the putback and the push. Iago Brito and Merrill both hit threes late in the half as the Rebels struggled defensively and they couldn't muster anything offensively. The Aggies led 48-28 in the break. Amari Hardy got the second half rolling with the driving lay-in. Then the alley-oop to Jong, and Hardy followed with a three. But this was all Utah State. Merrill works underneath his man for two. Brito with the nice feed to Dwayne Brown for the lay-in, and this was one to forget, as Utah State had no problems in an 82-65 win.
Guys got to stay positive and, you know, weather the storm when stuff doesn't go well. And when stuff goes very well, you know, just kind of, you know, stay even keeled, because it's basketball, it's a roller coaster, it's up, it's down, but, you know, you kind of stay level-headed, you'll be okay at the end of the day.
All right, so we knew that Utah State was good,
Right.
but were they this good, or were you guys just this bad?
No, they're really good. I mean, I think that, you know, what do they have? 2 losses in conference, I think, and the one where Fresno State hit a buzzer beater almost to beat them. I mean, they could easily only have 1 loss in conference right now, and that's because they're balanced. They have a, you know, good share of experience, and I do think on the flip side of that we've got to get a lot better defensively. Obviously, that was our Achilles heel, not just against Utah State, but against San Diego State and Reno as well.
Is it more of guys not seeing what's happening the other teams are doing defensively that is the problem that you're seeing, and how do you make the correction on that to make sure that they're getting, you know, in the game and better ready to go?
Well, you know, you can drill certain actions like you're going to guard, like a dribble handoff or a ball screen or a pin down, and then to put them live, if that's not your offense, it's difficult for the guys to get the carryover from the drill into the game. Not really experienced guys as much, because they can kind of piece it together, but young guys for sure. And that's what we're experiencing. We're experiencing some game slippage that's at a pretty high level that, you know, I know it's going to get better. It's just, you know, it's one of those deals where you just got to keep grinding. There's no shortcuts. There's no secret recipe. It's just about getting reps and getting experience.
Well, let's turn our attention now to the game earlier in the week as the fellows from Reno came down south to take on Las Vegas in the Thomas and Mack. A good-sized crowd and a packed student section for the Silver State showdown between the Runnin' Rebels and Wolfpack. UNR looked to establish inside dominance early. Trey Porter backs his man down for the two-handed slam. Then Porter muscles his way in for two more. Off the inbounds pass, the lob to Jordan Caroline for the dunk as Reno built an early lead. But on a later inbounds pass, UNLV gets the steal and Chris Clyburn heads the other way for the lay-in. Then the Rebs push the ball. Noah Rabatham feeding a streaking Jonathan Chamwa-Chachua for the flush. 7.5 minutes in, Mbake Jong checked in for his first action in several games, but the Wolfpack continued to roll. Caleb Martin flies to the rim for the Dr. J.S. dunk, and Caroline puts one down with authority. UNLV struggled shooting the ball, especially from three-point range, going 0 for 12 in the first half, and UNR raced out to a 48-26 lead at the break. A red Fremont cannon was rolled out at halftime to get the Rebel faithful fired up. UNLV tried to get back in it. Joel Tomboy drained a triple to end the drought from three-point range. Then Tomboy gets the hoop and the harm, but he had bruised ribs from the first half and was pretty much done after that. Amari Hardy hit a triple, and Clyburn connected on a catch-and-shoot three, but Reno was just too athletic. Caleb Martin connected from downtown, and then the exclamation point as the Martin twins hook up for the alley-oop. Caleb had 26, Cody pitched in 10, and Caroline went for 18 to overshadow Clyburn's 23 as the Wolfpack show why they're ranked in the top 10 with an 87-70 win.
We got another chance at playing them again for the most part, and we got a chance to watch film and learn from our mistakes. I think we made an adjustment second half. Unfortunately, it didn't get us the win.
This game, I feel like we just took a step back at starting the game off strong. You know, they threw the first punch, and it was hard to recover. So that's one of the things that we got to just take forward going through these next couple games, this tough stretch. So that's something we got to work on.
All right, so we knew UNR was one of the best teams in the country, and they were as advertised. That's a very athletic team that's really tough because they have so many weapons coming from so many different angles.
Yeah, they're as good as advertised, no doubt. I feel like they really are potentially a Final Four team. You know, it's one thing to watch them on film, and it's another to go against them. We did that last year, and I thought even last year, man, they've got a lot of talent. But they're playing really good basketball right now, and that's what it takes. You've got to continue to develop throughout the season. You're going to have hills and valleys, but once you got guys like that, I think they've got 7 seniors and just a lot of maturity on that team. That the chances of them getting better before they don't get better are pretty high. So, you know, they're an admirable foe for anybody they run up against right now.
Do you have to, when you go in and you obviously play up in Reno at the end of February, because you have a short bench as well, is the focus kind of to try and make sure you try and take one guy out of the game and hope the other guy has a bad night? I mean, is that the point that we're at right here?
No, I think we got to get to the basics, the nuts and bolts of what it is to play solid defense. You could steal a possession after a timeout, or, you know, do certain things during a scout to try to minimize another team's efficiency. But you got to learn how to play solid defense first. And so we're gonna stick to our guns as far as training these young men how to play great man-to-man defense. We do have a zone in our repertoire, which we didn't use tonight based off of their personnel. They just shoot it from so many spots. But you know, you got to have a plan B as well. And we never got to it tonight just based on, I mean, the game was over very early with the way things unfolded. So just, you know, onward and upward, man. Just staying positive and keeping perspective with these guys.
Well, time for us to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to look at the previous week's games, including a game down in San Diego and a win against New Mexico at Thomas and Mack. That's coming up in just 2 minutes as the RebZone rolls on.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
There was no RebZone last Sunday, so we want to take a look at the games from that previous week, which included a win over the Lobos for a sweep of the season series and a trip down to San Diego.
Started with a game against New Mexico at the Thomas and Mack in a rematch of two teams that met in Albuquerque just 2 weeks earlier. Just like the first one, the Lobos jumped out to an early lead thanks to Carlton Bragg's inside bucket and Anthony Mathis cutting the baseline for the bucket and the foul. But also like the last time, Noah Robotham essentially shut Mathis down and took New Mexico out of its game. UNLV cranked things up offensively. Chris Clyburn dropped a corner three, and Joel Tomboy followed with a triple to beat the shot clock to narrow the gap. The game took a bizarre twist when referee Dave Hall was kicked inadvertently but injured his hand and had to leave the game, making it a two-man crew the rest of the way. The Rebels immediately went on a 13-1 run. Nick Blair hit a three to give UNLV its first lead. Robotham penetrates and kicks out to Trey Woodbury, who hits from downtown, and Noah followed with back-to-back triples. Things kept clicking. Amari Hardy drives and passes back to Blair. He throws it down. Hardy connected on back-to-back triples and the capper of the half. Robotham with the great feed to Blair, who lays it in, and the Rebs led 39-27 at the break. Blair stayed hot in the second, making the shot and driving to the hole for two, then pouring in a three to extend the lead. Watch Robotham change his mind midair and slingshot a pass to Clyburn for a trifecta, and Blair finishes off a career night with back-to-back threes. He had 26 points. UNLV shoots 56% for three-point range, and they frustrate the Lobos and get the regular season sweep of New Mexico, 74-58.
You know, you just go out there and you just be confident. You know, I know my teammates trust me, the coaching staff trusts me. So when you got everybody based on the team, knowing that you can shoot those shots and that they believe in you, it's not too hard to believe in yourself and shoot those shots.
That Saturday, it was a much different story in San Diego. The Aztecs scored the first 7 points of the game, capped by Jalen McDaniel's quick over-the-shoulder pass to Nathan Mensah for the slam. UNLV climbed back in it using the three ball. First it was Tomboy, then Hardy with a step-back triple. Bryce Hamilton gets in on the action. And when Hardy hits this three with 6:23 left in the first half, UNLV had pulled within 2 points. They would never get that close again. San Diego used their size and length to dominate. McDaniels with the hoop and the harm. Then the offensive rebound for McDaniels, and he gets the bucket and the bump, and the corner three from the sophomore, as the Aztecs rolled into the locker room at halftime with a 46-35 lead. San Diego opened it up more in the second. The lob inside to Matt Mitchell for the easy bucket, and the jumper by McDaniels. The Rebs did make a push. Tomboy with the sweet moves for the bucket and the foul. Then he gets the triple and the tap. The steal by Clyburn. He takes it coast to coast for the flush. And off the Aztec inbounds pass, Robotham with the swipe, and he gets the lay-in at the other end. But make no mistake, this was a dominant performance by San Diego State at home, who shoot more than 70% in the second half, and add a little salt to the wound when McDaniels launched and hit a three at the buzzer. He had 30 points and 13 boards as the Aztecs cruised by UNLV 94-77, the Runnin' Rebels' 10th loss at Viejas in the last 11 years.
We just gave it to me offensive rebounds, and that was one of the main things that they fueled off of, the second chance points, and they was getting buckets off that. And we kept fouling a lot, so they got to the free throw line, knocked down free throws, so that was on us.
All right, let's talk some positivity here.
Finally.
That win against New Mexico and the season sweep of the Lobos for the regular season. A lot of things that we saw in Albuquerque really translated to what we saw in the Thomas and Mack in terms of you guys kind of shutting down their game.
Yeah, we did a good job. They've got a lot of talent, and they're going through some transition as well. And we were fortunate enough to get both those wins this year. But I still think that that's a team that's could sneak up on somebody in the tournament. They've got a lot of talent on that team, especially when Mathis gets going, and the big fella Bragg, he's a load as well. So we played good basketball both those nights.
Okay, and then on Saturday we went down to San Diego, and I think that there was a big disparity in terms of athleticism on the court with some of that, especially Jalen McDaniels. Just nobody that could match up with him with what you have on your current roster.
Well, no, I think that they've got a couple guys that are pros. Obviously, when I say a couple guys. I'm talking about the league has a few guys that are NBA guys, and Reno's got a couple, and I think Jalen is also an NBA player. And if you're going to match up with those guys, you have to beat them as a team. And as a team, we don't have the connectivity that I'd like to have. But I'm hoping that it continues to grow in that fashion that it has been. And we just didn't, we struggled the last few games, but I still see their confidence has not waned much, and they understand why they lost and why they're making mistakes, and they just got to get reps and get better at it. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we fare the second half of conference.
When you get to this point of a season and you've lost 3 double-digit losses in a row here, how much of your coaching is upstairs in the mental part of the game more than the physical stuff on the floor?
Well, I think this year maybe a little bit more than normal just because of the youthfulness. You've got to definitely put your experience and psychological training to use with making sure that the guys stay engaged at a high level and don't start pointing fingers or blaming each other, and just stay together. If they stay together and they keep fighting the good fight and fall back on our original core values, we'll be fine.
Time for us to take another breather. When we come back, we're going to look at the week ahead. 2 more games for the Running Rebels, and we'll break it all down straight ahead.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willie. Your home, your way.
Another tough week and a big week for UNLV as they travel to Boise to take on Boise State, and then they get Fresno State coming in for their only regular season meeting of the year with Thomas and Mack.
The week begins on Wednesday night with an 8 o'clock tip at the Taco Bell Arena. Boise State is coming off a 20-point loss in Reno on Saturday, but the Broncos are always tough at home, and they have a lot of shooters, led by Justinian Jessup. Head coach Leon Rice says that he's been in Boise long enough that he doesn't make many adjustments game to game. He just continues to run his system.
I think one thing that our system's been able to do is kind of be consistent no matter what style we face. And Marvin's always got good athletes out there, and it is sometimes really difficult to move the ball a little bit. But I think we just do what we do, and regardless of who we play, and I think that's been a strength of our program.
On Saturday, the Runnin' Rebels return home for a 2 o'clock matinee against Fresno. The Bulldogs are one of the top dogs in the conference, with an athletic team led by Deshaun Taylor and Braxton Huggins, 2 guards that make things go on both ends of the floor. That's exactly how new Fresno head coach Justin Hudson likes his teams. He was a defensive specialist in San Diego and for a short time with UNLV, but Hudson also wants to push the pace.
We're always going to try to play great defense, but you also want to run and score. So I don't want it to be a shootout, but I'm not also trying to take the air out of the ball either.
All right, so we have a week where you're seeing 2 teams for the first time this year, and Boise is never an easy place to go play, and as usual, Leon Rice has got some guys that can shoot the ball.
Yeah, he's, Jessup is a big-time shooter, and he added a couple other guys in, and they have some experience returning. So there'll be another tough out. They're one of those guys that, you don't really want to run into in March unless you're playing really good basketball. But on their home floor, they're special. I mean, they compete at a high level, and they get great support. And, so it'll be a good environment, a good opportunity for our guys to have another test.
And then you finally return home to the Thomas and Mack on Saturday. Fresno State comes in, one of the top-tier teams in the Mountain West, with another high-profile player that can take games over.
Yeah, they've got a couple guys that are really, really good players. And, Justin Hudson, who's very close to me, I'm really happy for him that he's got his guys playing well. He's done an excellent job both on the defense and the offensive end, even though he's kind of known as a defensive coach as his specialty.
The one thing about Justin Hudson, it's not the San Diego State type of style that people saw. These guys want to get up and running down the floor. They want scores in the 80s, at least for them. I mean, it's a little bit different style than what he had at San Diego State.
And I think that's based on his personnel. You know, he's guard heavy, and he's got you know, a big that can run and grind. So he's got some guys that I think would be conducive to playing fast basketball. So they recognize that, and they're planning their offense around their personnel.
One final timeout for us. When we come back, we'll have the Running Rebels Plays of the Week. Stay with us.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
Welcome back inside the RebZone. Coach, good luck this week. We will see you in Boise on Wednesday night, and we hope to see you next Sunday for the RebZone. Thanks for joining us for this one. Here's the Running Rebel Plays of the Week. Good night.
Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show was presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.